Hey everyone, welcome back to Money with Mission. I am your host, Dr. Felecia Froe. Money with Mission is that company that believes every woman should have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that is not in her best interest. And today I have with me Dr. Virgie Bright Ellington. Dr. Ellington is an internal medicine physician, former health insurance executive, and principal of Crush Medical Debt. One of the things that we all know that keeps people financially insecure is medical debt, even when you have insurance. Dr. Virgie, after practicing for more than 20 years in primary care and psychiatric settings, and as a medical billing expert, she now helps patients communicate effectively with their healthcare providers to avoid financial devastation from crushing medical bills through her What Your Doctor Wants You to Know series. She is the author of What Your Doctor Wants You to Know to Crush Medical Debt and hosts the weekly Crush Medical Debt, Medical Bills Uncovered show on Voice America Radio Network and more than 30 of your favorite podcast platforms. Please look for her, subscribe, listen, send your patients to her.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Welcome to the show, Dr. Virgie. Is that the right thing to call you, or should I call you Dr. Ellington? What are we doing here?
You know what? Just Virgie, Dr. Virgie is fine. Usually introduce myself as Virgie, like short for Virginia, because people tend to have a hard time for some reason with Virgie. And then once they get the Virgie, they like saying Dr. Virgie. So I'll just go with it. That's fine.
I have so many people call me Dr. Felecia, and I was like, I don't get it, but okay, if that works for you.
What, you think Dr. Froe is easier to say?
I never introduced myself as Dr. Felicia. I say Dr. Froe when I introduce myself. I don't say Dr. Felecia Froe. And then some patients actually will call you by your first name, and they always say it wrong, which always annoys me.
That's annoying.
I didn't give you permission to use my first name, and you said it wrong.
I don't have a problem as long as they say it right. Now, that's why I introduced myself as Virgie, like short for Virginia, because it does get butchered, and the curtain drops. I see Brenda just get enraged. So, yeah, that's why I'm like, just get it as long as you say it right.
Tell me, so you have been an internal medicine doc. You worked with insurance companies. You've done a lot of stuff. Tell me your money story. What did you learn about money as a child? How do you see money now?
Oh, gosh.
Talk about that.
How much time do we have, Felecia?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Froe. How much time do we have? And you're making me date myself. All right. So basically, my money story starts when I'm from Detroit, grew up in Detroit, Michigan, or spent most of my growing up years there, half of my growing up years there, basically. And when I was about 9 years old, this was in the late 70s, and this is in Detroit, Michigan. This is when the U.S., meaning Detroit auto industry, was collapsing. Okay. And they were laying off tons and tons and tons and tons, and laying off the industry essentially because manufacturers happening overseas and la. And so my parents would drive. We lived outside of Detroit. It would take us like a half hour, 45 minutes to drive into the city where both my parents worked and my brother and I went to school. And my dad he wasn't a list of music guy. He only wanted to listen to the news. And we listened to the news on the way in and the way home, right, during the commute. And I would hear these stories of every day. It was like, how many people were laid off today? Thousands, hundreds and thousands were laid off today. And in my little kid brain, it terrified me because I thought, oh my gosh, these people don't have a job. What are they going to do? They have families. How are they going to eat? And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, when I grow up, I'm going to do something to make sure that I'm going to be able to feed myself and my family if I have kids by then. And I decided, okay, so what are something that always happens in life no matter what? Cars are a luxury at the end of the day. You don't have to have one to live, but what's a luxury? What's not a luxury that I'm trying to say? I said, okay, well, people always will get sick or injured eventually, and or they will, for sure, they'll always die, right?
Right.
And I thought, well, I don't want to be a mortician. I knew that. I was like, how can you do that? You're crying all the time. I don't want to cry all the time. I don't want to be sad every day. So the only other option was being a physician. And I thought, okay, you know what? Even if no one has money where I live, they will pay me like in pies. I had this in my brain. They will give me a pie for my treatment, for payment for my treatment. And I thought, you know what? We'll operate for food, for pie. Anyway, so that's really the real, I think, foundation of what made me say, okay, you know what? I have to go into medicine. And then I really, by that point, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted to take care of puppies until I found out how bad they smell and how bad I was like, no, can't be a veterinarian. So here we are.
Well, we have that in common. I wanted to be a veterinarian. My father was a veterinarian. And he's the one who told me, if you're going to school that long, you're going to medical school.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what my dad said to me. That's what my dad said. His best friend was a dentist and really, really successful. And he wanted me to be a dentist. And I said, Daddy, I just can't. No, I can't. And he said, I said to him, I said, I really want to be an architect like you.
Okay.
And he didn't say anything at the time, but he said, you're going to med school, la, 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 la. And because I told him I wanted to be a physician, la, la, la. It was going to happen, right? And years later, I was probably like a good 30 years old, had been practicing for a while. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, Daddy, you know why I went into medicine? I said, because I thought that in order to be an architect, you had to take like years of physics in undergrad and college. And I said, I hated physics and I thought I would flunk out. And so I went to medicine because it's easier. And I found out when I went to my pre-med physics classes, the pre-architecture students were in there. I'm like, really? They have the same amount of physics requirements undergrad as physicians do for pre-med. Yeah. And so my dad said, you know what? I'm glad you made that decision, however it happened, because then I wouldn't have to have broken your fingers. I would have broken your fingers if you'd committed to this dream of becoming an architect like me. Like, holy crap. I guess he feels that.
Wow.
He was really, really, really a smart, self-taught personal finance guy, and said the only way to self-sufficiency is working for yourself, being self-employed.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So he told you that, though, when you were in your 30s?
No, he told me that. He started grooming me with that. I would say I was probably still a teenager. I'm sure I was like 13 when he started talking about that. Yeah. Okay. He taught me how to do my own tax return and to calculate my net worth by the time I was 13, 16, somewhere in there.
Being able to calculate your net worth is amazing, because I know there's so many of us adult people who don't know how to do that.
Have no idea.
But it sounds like your dad groomed you to, you should work. You have to work to make money. It's not about money working for you. Or did you get any of that kind of education?
Oh my gosh, no, it's the opposite. It was passive income, your work. You get an education, so you have the foundation to be able to provide services and products for people.
Right.
Now you make money. The best way to make money is while you sleep, right? Passive income.
Okay.
And so he was like, okay, your first house, you're going to buy a duplex. Virgie, that's what you're going to do. You're going to buy a duplex. And then, he was hardcore business, passive income. With your first house, it has to be a duplex so that you can rent out half and then live rent-free, bill-free, basically, in your half.
So that's house hacking. That's what they call house hacking.
Now they call it, yes. Now
back in the 70s, 80s, you were already doing that. Your dad
exactly, yes, ma'am. Yep.
Nice. So you grew up understanding that money is what we work for money, but then we send money out to work for us so that it's coming back to us in our sleep. So we're not doing this vicious hamster wheel cycle for our entire lives if we don't want to. Yes?
Yes. I would say that I know I sound biased, but I'm really not. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant self-taught personal finance expert. And I would introduce him to my friends and have them, work on have him help him with their retirement plans and that kind of thing. The work was never, it was a means to an end, to answer your question. I think that's the best way to describe it. The goal is always self-employment, business, and they're the only way to achieve wealth is assets. That's right.
Buying assets.
No debt. So he was growing up, people used to make fun of him and he totally didn't care. but he never ever had, we don't believe in car notes and paying on time for a car, right? You buy it for cash. And if it looks like a hoopty, who cares as long as it runs? And he did his own mechanic work. His dad was a mechanic, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So you don't pay other people interest. You receive interest or you receive cash flow, but you never buy anything on time if you can avoid it. The only thing that it was okay to buy things on time for was your mortgage.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So you guys, that was a lot. And I know most of us end up buying things and using interest and do that, but there are ways actually to be your own bank and pay yourself the interest.
Thank you, Dr. Froe. Absolutely correct. That's huge. That's everything. And once you really incorporate that concept into your being, it changes everything. Be your own bank.
100%. Okay. So you went to medical school, you practiced medicine for how long? I know we talked off screen and I know you're not practicing anymore, but how long did you practice?
Oh gosh, you keep making me date myself, Dr. Froe.
You just got to say number of years. You don't have to say what years.
To do the math, if you think of, so I left when my son was born. My oldest was born, who just turned 18 last month. So that's why my brain is just not accepting that he's that old. So I'm trying to think, how many years was I? I want to say, okay, what year was he? I have to do the math. You're asking me to do math.
Nope.
At this time of day. Okay, I want to say 20. Let's say 16 years.
Okay.
16 years. Yeah.
So that, I understand doing the math because I said I've been in practice. I've been a urologist for 20 years. And I realized one day I've been saying that for a long time. Let me figure out how long it's really been. And it was 30. But and I was like, I can't believe I've been doing something for 30 years. I'm not that old. How could that
be possible? If I'm still 29 and holy, how is that possible? Right?
Exactly. Did you step out of it because your son was born and you wanted to stay at home with him, or how?
So at that time, I had written my first book. Oh, actually, that's not what happened. I launched a business before he was born that was a product to prevent razor bumps, ingrown hairs when men, especially with curly hair, black hair, Black men with kinky sub-Saharan African hair tends to turn in much more easily than than straight hair. So it's why with straight hair, you don't tend to get razor bumps. And that's why women tend to get razor bumps if they shave in their pubic area, because the hair tends to be curly and turn in also.
Yes.
So I told my kid's dad at the time, my husband at the time, I said, when we have kids.
By the way, that was not Duke Ellington, everybody. Yes.
No.
Virgie Bright Ellington, but she's not married to Duke Ellington.
No, ma'am. I was not
like that.
No, ma'am. I'm not that old. I'm getting there, but not that old. Duke Ellington was not my husband. Duke Ellington was not my baby daddy, my baby's daddy. No. But I told him, I said, when we have kids, I'm going to work from home, because part of it was I knew that I'd have this business that I wanted to try to launch from home, but I needed to have a business. My daddy says I have to have a business. And at that time, you really couldn't see patients, you can't see them over the phone. At that time, there was no telemedicine, right?
Right.
So I was like, I have to do something right. I wanted to use my doc brain and help people. Well, at that point, the best I had come up with something by accident to decrease or prevent razor bumps. So I was going to bring that to market. It was called Clear Shave. And I thought, okay, that's what I'll work on full time when I have my oldest is born. And his brother came along 18 months later. And subsequent to that, I had written a book, the first of the What Your Doctor Wants series, which was called What Your Doctor Wants But Doesn't Have Time to Tell You. Nice. And it was really written as like a promo almost for the Clear Shave product, because it was broken up into sections. What your gynecologist wants you to know, what your dermatologist wants you to know. So that was the razor bumping, and what your dentist wants you to know. And so what I did was, when I had my kid, I was not going back to work outside of the home. I knew I had to work. I don't have it like that.
I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to practice medicine.
I can't practice medicine right now. Yeah. And that's what happened. And then fast forward, my dad passed away in 2008. And I realized it's one of those things that happen in life. I realized that my dad had been like this positive buffer, this positive energy in my life that I didn't realize, this positive male energy, that I didn't realize that he was this buffer between the negative male energy I had in my life, which is my kid's dad, and that I needed to leave the marriage, in the marriage, and be head of household.
Okay.
Well, I had the business, your first business and your first book, by the way, folks, when you're writing your first book, when you're writing a book, realize it's not going to be your first, because you don't make money with your first book. You use it as a platform to actually talk about the work you do, but you can't expect to make money. It's not going to be the famous book, right? And give you gobs of money. It just doesn't really work that way. So I was like, holy crap, I need a head of household. I need a job that has benefits. So that's why I went into working for a health insurance company. And I'd done some research. And at that time, they were the only health insurance company that I would ever work for, because I felt that they were the most moral and ethical.
Okay.
And even then, I told a colleague that I worked with, she's an endocrinologist, and I left after I had my kid, my oldest kid, and I was calling to catch up with her. And I said, by the way, I'm going back to work, telling her my marriage is ending and moving at going back to work. And I said, so I'm working for this insurance company. And I said, I'm not going to be Dr. No. I'm going to be Dr. Maybe. So Dr. No is where they say, no, you can't have this treatment, or you can't have these many days in the hospital. That's called UMUR, utilization review, utilization management. But that is not me. I'm not going to be Dr. No. Dr. Maybe is I'm in the appeals department, where by federal law, insurance companies have to have a process where if you deny the service, payment of a service or a claim, a bill, that whether the provider of that service and or the patient can appeal that decision.
Okay.
And so my job in that, I joined the team whose responsibility is to say, you know what, oh my gosh, you're right. According to our, medical policy, it's really medically necessary. You really should have had this done. Okay. We're going to make sure that we're going to overturn that denial and get this approved for you and get it paid. Or the little second thing you could say is, or example is, what would happen is someone will say, oh my gosh, you know what, if you send us this information to support why this service was done, why this treatment was done, according to medical policy, yes, we'll cover that, but you need to send us that information. Or the third option is, you know what, dude, we're never going to pay for that, so just let it go. Yeah. No, that's not medically necessary, that kind of thing. So that's why I say I was Dr. Maybe. So anyway, so I'm telling this to this colleague. I was trying to be friendly with her, friends with her, and catch up to date. So I said, so I'm joining this insurance company. And she got quiet and she says, well, remember what it was like to be a doctor? Click. That was back in the day when we still had, we could hang up a phone. You can't like hang up on a cell phone, right? It doesn't have the same effect. But
wow.
Yes, ma'am. So I had gone to the dark side. Many people believe that I'd gone to the dark side, but I'm one of those that believe you got to be on the inside to make change. So to make sure that things are done appropriately.
Yep.
So I went from saying I had patients, whatever my patient population was, to at that time, the insurance, that company had 17 million patients. So I said, I have 17 million patients, to make sure that their care is being paid for appropriately, that no shortcuts are taken in terms of getting claims denied, their payment denied inappropriately.
Yeah, I feel people out there, my shoulders want to go up, because I just feel like from the office standpoint, sending this to prove that, and this is what it feels, send this into the insurance company to prove that patient really needed that thing. And it's just, oh my God, why would I do something? And we all know, let me finish that sentence. Why would I do something the patient didn't need? And we all know there are doctors out there that do things that patients don't need.
Unfortunately.
So, yes, which makes, anyway, insurance as a whole. I hope I wouldn't have hung up on you like that, but I was quiet for a moment. Okay.
I understand it. And we can have that conversation too. I totally understand. And that's a whole conversation that goes into why I'm grateful for that experience.
Yeah.
Because it really did form, I have to say, Dr. Froe, it really did shape me into the work that I'm doing now, I'm saving lives and saving families in another way.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so you felt like you had to get another job when your marriage broke up. And it was a thing that has led you to where you were supposed to be, it looks like to me, teaching people how to not get into medical debt
Yes,
or
ma'am.
how to get out of it once they've gotten there. And you probably wouldn't be as good at it if you didn't have this insurance company education. Did they turn out to be as moral and ethical as you thought they were?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Until, yes. But I'm not going to say the name of the company, but you'll be able to figure it out.
Okay.
If you
You
decide
can bleep it,
to
'cause
do
I really wanna
research.
know.
So this is the thing. When it was run by administrators who were in the field of health administration and healthcare administration, yes. And then they were bought by a publicly traded retail pharmacy.
Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And overnight, they created quotas that the prior administration had realized what quotas is not helpful. Quota is how many cases you have to get through a day. If you're getting a case for an appeal, let's say, and I have to do research to say, okay, we should pay for this or not, or can you send us more information? We need more information. It takes time to go through charts, to go through the information, the records that you sent to support your appeal, right?
Right. Okay.
Well, if you can only go through it effectively with a certain amount of time, if you
Yeah.
decrease the amount of time, you're just not doing a great job going through the records, if at all. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So the prior administration, C-suite folks, I'm going to say the president, really, president, CEO knew this and is a good guy, meaning the right thing. And he said, you make a fair profit, but you take care of folks.
Right.
And you make
Yeah.
a fair profit, fairly, emphasis on fair. And that was in we have a break room, a lunchroom, that would be like our mission on posters. Anyway, so the company, this big publicly traded pharmacy retailer, came to him and said, hey, we want to buy your company. And he said, okay, I'll sit down and I think I'll negotiate with you, meaning this retail pharmacy company. I will make sure that you're going to go along with our culture and our mission.
Yeah.
And of course, they gave lips up. Oh, yes, of course we will. I swear
why we
to
want
God,
you.
no exaggeration. The purchase was completed on like December 2018, and I got January 2019. There was it was palpable that they reinstated quotas, meaning they were saying, hey, you want to get through these many? And no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And my point is that it's not like selling more bottles of vitamins. It doesn't work that way. Company that just bought this health insurance company and helping people manage quality care.
Mhm.
No, it doesn't work that way. And so, yeah, I'm like, peace out. I was gone for many reasons. I think I was gone by within 9 months. I was like, after being there for 10 years, I was like, oh, no, not me.
Wow.
I'm not Dr. No. I'm Dr. Maybe, and you're forcing me to not get quality care and quality reviews. No.
Yeah. It took 9 months. Were you worried about your money, how you were going to live and feed your kids, or that was all taken care of? And I'm still trying to figure out, maybe they will get their shit together, or what was the 9 months?
It was complicated. So once I figured it out, I figured it out like January, February, and then in March, my mother passed away suddenly, unexpectedly. And I didn't see this coming. I tell people, when my dad passed away, I lost my marriage. And many people say, well, you should have lost your marriage. Okay. But when my mother died, I lost my mind. I didn't see it coming. I was diagnosed with severe depression. And I was no longer, I don't know, willing and or able, but I was just no longer going to do the production where I spent like 10, 12 hours a day doing the production, plus things that they had asked me to do. They asked me to oversee their hospital claims. And I would teach the enterprise on how to fairly review medical bills, specifically the ones that come from hospitals.
Okay.
And I was in charge of that from the clinical side. And I found out I was saving the company an additional $50 million every year when I took over the company. That department, that division of work. But But they also expected me to keep up with the production, the quotas that I had been brought in to do 10 years prior.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm not, no. So my production went down, and my boss, who didn't know about the work I was doing for our head boss, a chief, said, well, I'm going to put you on a performance improvement plan. You've got to increase the number of, I'm like, wait, what? Who are you talking to? It was, and my husband tells me, he says, Virgie, when you told me that, when I came home and you told me what she had done, that she said to you that she's putting you on a PIP, she said, I could see it in your face. He said, something changed. And so by June, I said, peace out. And I realized, I know she had a boss she had to report to, was looking at numbers. I get it. But that's not what I'm not going to take blood money, which is what you're asking me to do. No.
You're asking me to be not as good a person, not good at what I do. You're just asking me to put things.
A hired gun. I took an Hippocratic oath.
Yeah.
I am a physician. You hired me to be a physician, not a hired gun, not a bean counter. No, that's inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so happy that you got your mind back enough, because I took care of my mom for a year and lost my mind also in that year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough time. But you got it back enough to realize these people are coming at me with some stuff that's not right. And I'm not going to lose my mind and my integrity doing something that just doesn't align.
Right.
I'll get out of here and figure something out.
Peace out. And to answer your original question, I wasn't worried about money because I had an apartment that brought in income to cover the mortgage on the second apartment, because Daddy said, my daddy taught me everything I know. And so I had just launched the first business with the product and all of that. I had realized, okay, I have to have a business. Daddy says, and he's right, business is the only way to go, right? To be financially independent. That was his point. Yeah. All right. So how do I do that? I had an IRA from the time that I was an employed physician, a resident, internship and residency, left medical school, and I maxed out my 401k. If you're working for a nonprofit, it's called a 403b, whatever it's called, but your deferred retirement.
Yep.
And then when you leave a place, you roll it over into an IRA. Right. So I had funded my first business with a self-directed IRA. Okay. And there are companies that do that. So you take your company and you convert it to a C corporation. This is what you pay these companies to do. They convert it to a C corporation. So instead of you investing your money in some other company's stock, you invested in your own stock in your own business. And I was able to, if I didn't have that, I would not have been able to do it.
Listen, you guys, we have an example right here. And I don't know if you know this, but Money with Mission's mission is every woman have the financial ability to walk away from any job or relationship that's not in her best interest. She's done them both, relationship, job, and now, in my opinion, doing what she was actually put here to do. Let's talk about that.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.